Hi, this is Barack Obama. The pastor of my church, Reverend Jeremiah Wright, who recently preached his last sermon and is in the process of retiring, has touched off a firestorm over the last few days. He's drawn attention as the result of some inflammatory and appalling remarks he made about our country, our politics, and my political opponents. Let me say at the outset that I vehemently disagree and strongly condemn the statements that have been the subject of this controversy. I categorically denounce any statement that disparages our great country or serves to divide us from our allies. I also believe that words that degrade individuals have no place in our public dialogue, whether it's on the campaign stump or in the pulpit. In sum, I reject outright the statements by Reverend Wright that are at issue. Because these particular statements by Reverend Wright are so contrary to my own life and beliefs, a number of people have legitimately raised questions about the nature of my relationship with Reverend Wright and my membership in the church. So let me therefore provide some context. As I've written about in my books, I first joined Trinity United Church of Christ nearly 20 years ago. I knew Reverend Wright as someone who served this nation with honor, as a United States Marine, as a respected biblical scholar, and as someone who taught or lectured at seminaries across the country, from Union Theological Seminary to the University of Chicago. He also led a diverse congregation that was and still is a pillar of the South Side and the entire city of Chicago. It's a congregation that does not merely preach social justice, but acts on it each and every day through ministries ranging from housing the homeless to reaching out to those with HIV/AIDS. Most importantly, Reverend Wright preached the gospel of Jesus, a gospel on which I base my life. In other words, he has never been my political advisor, he's been my pastor. And the sermons I heard him preach always related to our obligation to love God and one another, to work on behalf of the poor, and to seek justice at every turn. The statements that Reverend Wright made that are the cause of this controversy were not statements I personally heard him preach while I sat in the pews of Trinity or heard him utter in private conversation. When these statements, or at least some of them, first came to my attention, it was at the beginning of my presidential campaign. I made it clear at the time that I strongly condemned his comments. But because Reverend Wright was on the verge of retirement, and because of my strong links to the Trinity faith community, where I married my wife and where my daughters were baptized, I didn't think it was appropriate to leave the church. Let me repeat what I've said earlier. All of the statements that have been the subject of controversy are ones that I vehemently condemn. They in no way reflect my attitudes and directly contradict my profound love for this country. With Reverend Wright's retirement and the ascension of my new pastor, Reverend Otis Moss III, Michelle and I look forward to continuing a relationship with a church that has done so much good. And while Reverend Wright's statements have pained and angered me, I believe that Americans will judge me not on the basis of what someone else has said, but on the basis of who I am and what I believe in, on my values, judgment, and experience to be President of the United States of America. Thanks for listening. And as the emails and accusations about this continue to swirl, I need all of your help in the coming weeks and months to please forward this video on and get this message out to everyone you can. Thank you so much, everybody. Bye-bye.